Everyone is infected with Dead Space fever right now, and we're all feeling the symptoms. As excitement mounts in the lead up to the Dead Space Remake's launch, in recent days we've been going through the series and diving deep into the story of each installment. Having covered the first two games of the trilogy so far, here we're going to move on to Dead Space 3 as we wrap up our recap of the entire series. Dead Space 3 is set 3 years after the events of its predecessor, and during these 3 years, things have only gone from bad to worse, and in more ways than one. After escaping from the sprawl and destroying the red marker that had corrupted the station, Isaac and Ellie struck up a conversation, and for a time, it was going strong. Together, the two of them went into hiding from EarthGov and the Unitologists in a city on Earth's moon, though they both had very different goals, with Ellie wanting to find a way to stop the markers and Isaac wanting to remain in hiding, having already been through hell over the course of the last several years. And so their relationship came to an end, with Ellie going off to join the efforts to stop the markers and Isaac remaining behind in hiding, something that he would come to regret quickly afterward. Meanwhile, the 3 years between Dead Space 2 and 3 also saw Unitologists growing in both power and influence. The group has always had a dangerous devotion to the markers, and their goal has always been to lead humanity to the unified stage of convergence. But lately they've become much more vicious and ruthless in their attempts to do so. That has primarily been down to a radical group of Unitologists known as the Inner Circle, led and founded by Jacob Arthur Danik, under whose leadership they have been inciting riots and attacks and destroying marker test labs, triggering necromorph outbreaks everywhere in the hopes of speeding up the process of convergence. One of the planets where the Inner Circle carried out such an attack was Uxor. At the time, Ellie happened to be on the planet as well, in the company of Captain Robert Norton, captain of the USM Eudora, and officer of the EDF, with whom, incidentally, she also developed a relationship. The two were witnesses to the widespread infestation of the planet by necromorphs and rescued a man named Sergeant John Carver, the secondary protagonist of Dead Space 3. Though Carver himself was rescued, he was unable to save his wife and son, both of whom were transformed into necromorphs, and both of whom he was forced to put down. After narrowly escaping from Uxor, Ellie, Norton, and Carver's paths diverged. Ellie headed to Tau Volantes, a planet that she believed to be the home world of the markers due to a master signal that she traced to its location. As she headed to the planet, though, she knew that this was a mission that she would need Isaac for, owing to his attunement to and history with the markers, and knowing that would allow him to decrypt and gather crucial information that no one else could. And so, as she headed to Tau Volantes, Norton and Carver flew to Earth's moon, hoping to find and recruit Isaac. That is where Dead Space 3's story picks up, and where we join Isaac Clarke. Carver and Norton are able to track him down on Earth's moon, but while they're in the middle of explaining the situation, the colony is attacked by the Circle. Under the command of Danik, the Circle's soldiers attack marker test labs, unleashing their signals and triggering necromorph outbreaks. In the chaos, Isaac, Norton, and Carver are able to narrowly escape aboard Norton's ship, the USM Eudora. They make their escape and immediately head to the Tau Volantes system to rendezvous with Ellie. When they finally find her, it quickly becomes clear why she needed Isaac's help. She shows him indecipherable marker inscriptions, and thanks to the marker data embedded into his own mind, Isaac is able to read them and decipher their meaning. Much to their surprise, they talk about a special machine somewhere on Tau Volantes that can control the markers. While, interestingly, the phrase, "turn it off," also appears repeatedly throughout the inscriptions. Norton is reluctant to follow this trail, knowing that the mission that lies ahead could put Ellie's life in danger, while also being driven partially by jealousy towards Isaac, owing to his history with Ellie. Norton strongly advises against going to Tau Volantes, but knowing the importance of the task at hand, Ellie disagrees, while Isaac, too, decides that the mission has to be carried out. Predictably enough, however, upon reaching Tau Volantes, they're met by one obstacle after another. It starts with a crash landing, which ends up killing several members of their crew, while on the planet itself, they're forced to contend with harsh and freezing temperatures, and the threat of hypothermia. On top of that, it also turns out that the Circle has followed them to the planet, with the group having to stave off attacks from Danik and his soldiers. Eventually, they come upon a frozen and dormant hive mind that contains within it a signal that can lead to the marker, which of course means that the hive mind has to be thawed so that they can obtain and triangulate that signal. While they are in the process of doing that, however, they are once again ambushed by Danik and his soldiers, at which point it's also revealed that the reason they're here is because Norton led them here. Behind everyone else's back, he agreed to lead the Circle to Isaac for his capture, in exchange for letting him and Ellie escape. Now that Danik is here, though, he's changed his mind about the terms of the agreement, and decides that every single one of them, Isaac, Carver, Norton, Ellie, has to die. Luckily or unluckily enough, the frozen hive mind awakens at the time and instantly attacks everyone in its vicinity. In the resulting chaos and confusion, Isaac and Carver fight together and are able to defeat the hive mind, though that isn't the end of their problems. In the aftermath of the fight, an increasingly resentful Norton blames Isaac for all the casualties they have suffered during the course of the mission. He pulls his weapon on Isaac, shoots and misses, only for Isaac to shoot back in self-defense, killing Norton. Clearly the mission isn't going to plan, but it's not like they've got any option other than forging ahead and seeing it through. Soon enough, they discover new information to guide them forward, references to a device known as the Codex and something else referred to as Rosetta, both of which can be found in a lab atop a frozen mountain some distance away from their current location. The journey to the top of the mountain is a predictably harrowing one, involving more casualties and an intense battle against a massive necromorph monstrosity known as the Snow Beast. Eventually, however, Isaac, Carver, and Ellie do reach the lab. And here, Dead Space 3 answers many key questions. The Rosetta is revealed to be the remains of an ancient alien being that possesses information about the marker, and when Isaac comes into contact with it, he sees a vision that reveals a great many things. A long time ago, an ancient alien civilization that lived on Volantes uncovered the marker. And as it always does, that had catastrophic consequences. The marker unleashed an outbreak of the necromorphs and promptly started the process of convergence, which essentially sees a large-scale blending of organic matter from a planet and its inhabitants and dead mass from the necromorphs, all of which is pulled into that planet's orbit to create a giant moon. These moons, known as Brethren moons, then broadcast signals to other systems and galaxies, triggering more awakenings of markers, more necromorph outbreaks, more convergences, and the creation of more Brethren moons. Their ultimate goal is, as you may have guessed, the consumption and control of everything. But though the alien species that lived on Volantes was unable to prevent its own extinction, it was able to stop the Brethren moon from being fully activated and completing its task. In their final days, they were able to pool their resources to create a behemoth of a machine with unprecedented power, the same machine that Isaac first read about in the inscriptions Ellie had shown him. And using that machine, the alien species was able to freeze the oceans of Volantes, which in turn sent the Brethren moon into hibernation. Rosetta's DNA, meanwhile, was used by the first Volantes research expedition 2 centuries ago to create an artifact known as the Codex, which could be used to control that very machine. The markers, in their attempt to turn off the machine and reawaken the Brethren moon, had been exerting their influence and broadcasting the phrase "turn it off," which, as you will remember, is something else that Isaac found in those aforementioned inscriptions. Of course, turn it off is exactly what Danik and the Circle want to do. Isaac, Carver, and Ellie continue to trade blows with the unitologists, and eventually, as Dead Space 3 approaches its climax, they all find themselves at the heart of the machine, in an ancient underground alien city. In a tense standoff where Danik has managed to capture Ellie, he threatens to kill her, demanding the Codex in exchange for letting her go. Isaac and Carver are left with no option but to relent and hand the Codex over, which Danik promptly uses to turn off the machine. The process of convergence is resumed, and the consequences are instantly disastrous. The Brethren moon is reawakened, and it begins absorbing all organic matter on the planet, causing widespread destruction as layers upon layers of Volantes begin getting pulled into orbit. Amidst all the chaos, Danik is killed, impaled by falling debris. Knowing that there can be no way out of this situation, Isaac says his goodbyes to Ellie and is able to convince her to flee. As she escapes on a shuttle, Isaac and Carver fight their way through the chaos and are able to reactivate the machine once again. The convergence event is stopped once more, but it's not exactly a happy ending. The alien city and the Brethren Moon itself crash into Tal Volantes, and Ellie, believing Isaac and Carver have died in that crash, flies away on her shuttle. As she escapes and sets a course for Earth, she realizes that her instruments can no longer detect any marker signals. And that is where Dead Space 3 ends, though of course the ending reveals that Isaac and Carver did manage to survive the crash after all, and though they were able to stop the convergence event on Tal Volantes, it was ultimately a small and insignificant victory. The ending sees the pair of them dealing with severe reoccurring hallucinations. It's revealed that other Brethren moons have awoken and have discovered the location of Earth, following which Isaac and Clark instantly head back to their home planet. The two arrive in Earth's orbit, only to find the planet under attack by the Brethren moons, with a necromorph outbreak having broken out on the surface. In the final scene, their ship crashes into an approaching moon, leaving their fate unknown. That's the end of Dead Space 3, and for now, of the series as a whole. A little over a decade ago at this point, EA decided to put Dead Space on ice. And though the survival horror series is coming back at long last, we obviously don't expect the upcoming remake of the original game to advance the larger story in any meaningful way. There is a great deal that we don't know about when it comes to the series' story, from the origins of the markers to the fates of a number of key characters. Whether or not Dead Space's remake will be successful enough to convince EA to greenlight a long overdue, full-fledged sequel remains to be seen, though that is what we're all hoping for. Thankfully, Dead Space's launch is just around the corner, so at least we won't have to wait too long before being able to dive back into the series' horrific and incredible offerings. That's all for now. If you enjoy what you saw, please hit the like button. And if you're new to the channel, now is a great time to subscribe. We upload brand new videos every single day. After subscribing, don't forget to enable all notifications by clicking the bell icon. Thanks for watching this video, and we'll see you next time, right here on Gaming Bolt.